Hi gorgeous! Happy Frugal Friday to you. In today's video, it's another battle of the drugstore beauty blenders. I filmed a video just like this one literally a year ago exactly, almost to this date. And it did so well. I know so many of you found that video helpful, so I wanted to do another one with a whole different round of drugstore beauty blenders. And just so you know, I'm not including the Real Technique sponge in this comparison video because I did it in the first video a year ago. So if you do want to see that one in action, I will have that video linked for you below. The sponges that I'm testing out in today's video come from the Creme shop. This was a Marshall's find for $3.99. A Pro Blending Sponge from Precision Beauty, and this came from Ulta. I believe it was around $4. I'll have to double check the price on that. And another one from Earth Therapeutics. This was $6 at Kohls. And the last one is from TruBeauty, another Marshall's find, for $3.99. Hi! Before we get started, if you're interested in anything I'm wearing up here, I will have it listed for you below. And for the demo today, I'm using the Flower Liquid Foundation in the shade LF1 and the L'Oreal Visible Lift Blur Concealer in the shade Fair. Now, if you caught the last video that I did like this one, then you already know what to expect. But if this is the first time you're seeing me do this, I'll explain how I'm going to do this. I'll first apply the foundation and the concealer with the Beauty Blender on this half of my face, so you can see how it applies with this sponge. And then I'll use each drugstore sponge on this half of my face, so you can see how the two sides compare. And blending it in with the Beauty Blending Sponge. And I really love the Beauty Blender. I mean, hands down, I really do love it. It's really soft against the skin. It does an excellent job giving you a very flawless finish. But to me, I feel like the one quality that I'm going to be looking for in a drugstore sponge is the softness factor. It has to be soft. Because if you've ever tried some of the drugstore sponges that look like the Beauty Blender, then you know that they can be hard. They feel like rocks sometimes against the skin. So that is going to be the real determining factor for me in this video. And there you go. You can see the final results with the original Beauty Blending Sponge. First drugstore sponge I'm going to take here is the one from the Creme shop, and this is a Marshall's find. Got my handy little bowl of water here. I'm not going to show you this every single time, but when I am using these sponges, what I'm doing is immersing them in the water, making sure they are fully dipped. My goodness, you're gonna be able to hear that all over the microphone. And I'll do a squeeze test. Now this one did get bigger when I immersed it in the water, so it did expand in size. And it was a little tougher when I first felt it compared to how it feels now. It feels a little softer. Not as soft as the original Beauty Blender though. All right, well, first impressions, it's not horrible. It's a little rougher. Well, no, it's not really though. I was gonna say it's a little rougher than the Beauty Blender, but it's really not. It actually doesn't feel so bad against the skin. And I feel like it's doing a pretty good job of blending everything in. Let's see how we could do it underneath the eyes here. Usually my eyes are more sensitive. I think that's the case for a lot of people than the rest of my face is, but this is not giving me that much of an issue. Those are your final results. Beautiful finish. I felt like it was really quick and easy to use. Results speak for themselves. I'm really impressed for this one being the first one out of the gate. Do you remember that video I did comparing all of the makeup wipes from the drugstore? Somebody asked me if I was ever going to use them all. This is where they come in handy, right here. The next sponge I'm testing out is the one from TruBeauty, and this one also expanded in size a little bit once I dunked it under the water. And squeeze test with the original Beauty Blender. It's a little more resistant, not as squeezable as the Beauty Blending Sponge, and it tends to hold its shape a little more. See what I mean? It takes a little bit for it to bounce back. And blending the foundation in. Now the microphone I use is so good, aren't you, little booger? You'll probably hear all the tapping that I'm making because this guy, it's pretty hard against the skin. I don't know that I like this one. We'll see how it gets around the nose. That's another test too, is how well it gets into the crevices around the face. And I feel like some of that contributes to the softness of the sponge. Like if it's softer, it's easier to get into those crevices, where if it's harder, it's a little harder, for lack of a better word. And those are your final results. Beautiful finish. I felt like it was just as quick as the Creme Shop sponge that I used previously. And as I continued to use it, while I initially felt like it was a little tougher than the last sponge, it's not extremely uncomfortable to use. It's not like hitting yourself in the face with a rock. And if I had to use this one in place of the original Beauty Blending sponge, I would still be very happy with it. So thumbs up. Next sponge I'm testing out is the one from Precision Beauty. This can be found at Ulta. It is damp and it did expand. I feel like it doubled in size once I dunked it underneath the water. And it was very tough when I first squeezed it before dunking it under the water, but now it's extremely soft. Not as soft as the Beauty Blender, but really, really soft. Ugh. Major soft. Very comparable to the Real Technique sponge right here. We'll see how well it applies. Man, this is a nice sponge. The nicest so far out of all the ones I've used in terms of softness. It's really, really soft. Goodness. And I like the finish with this one too. Really easy to get around the eyes with this one, and around the nose. And goodness, I can't get over how soft it feels. Final results. Very comparable. The best one so far out of the bunch. I mean, I've been impressed with all of them so far, but this one, oh, wow. And the final sponge I have to share with you is the one from Therapeutics, and this can be found in Kohls stores. Squeeze test, very comparable to the original Beauty Blender. Very soft, easy to squeeze, and when I immersed this one underwater, it did double in size. Okay, now I feel like I was lied to. It's not what I expected. Can you hear that? I'm right by the microphone, so you can probably hear how it's hitting my face. I don't know that I like this one. I mean, it's not uncomfortable. It's kind of like the second one that I tried out from TruBeauty. It's a little more solid than the TruBeauty one though. Man, it was deceiving though. When I first immersed it, squeezed it, I thought, oh man, this is a true dupe for the Beauty Blender. Now that I use it, not so much. I mean, it's not terrible. If I were in a pinch and I had to use it, I wouldn't hate it. I'll put it that way. But I think I would go for the TruBeauty one, honestly, over this one if I had to choose between the two. And the TruBeauty one is cheaper. Final results, really beautiful finish. Very comparable to the Beauty Blender side. It's just not what I had expected it to be. And we'll go one step further in this video, and I'll let you know how each of these sponges held up through their first wash, because that can be a very important deciding factor when you're looking at a drugstore makeup sponge. A lot of these sponges don't survive past their first wash. The first one we'll talk about is the one from Precision Beauty. Now, if you look at the sponge, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of pink dye came out in the water the first 2 times that I washed this sponge. Nothing to be alarmed about though, because I still had the same experience with the original Beauty Blender, and after a while, that does go away. The one from the Creme Shop held up beautifully, no tears, no rips to speak of. The one from TruBeauty, same thing, no tears, no rips to speak of, looks brand spanking new. Finally, the one from Therapeutics. This is a bad sponge, bad sponge. It was not one to hold up well during the wash. First time I washed it, and it ripped. And I'm not rough when I wash my sponges. I'm very gentle, so I knew that you were too good to be true. Out of all the sponges that I tested for you today, the ones I cannot recommend to you enough are the ones from Precision Beauty and the 2 from Marshall's, TruBeauty and Creme Shop. The one I do not recommend that you try is the Therapeutics one from Kohls. It's not what it's cracked up to be. It's nowhere near as soft on your face, I feel like, as when you squeeze it, and it ripped pretty badly after the first wash. Let me know your favorite from today's video, and if there's one that you have been using that I didn't include today, feel free to share your favorites below as well. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this in the future, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you again next week.